All right, guys, I just want to take a few minutes and talk to you about some of the issues that are coming up from the last video I did about immigrating to Canada. And this is specifically to answer questions regarding immigrating as a student. All right, so a few of you have questions that I think that some may have questions later on, and I want to use this platform to answer as many answer questions that may be asked by as many people as possible. And forgive me today, I'm not sure. I'm traveling, I'm not in my usual place, so I find that my video is a little grainy. Please bear with me. If I haven't had the pleasure of meeting you, my name is Seraphine, and I'd like to speak with you about some of the questions that are coming up from my video about relocating to Canada. Now, specifically about relocating to Canada as a student, some questions coming up are, will the children suffer from culture shock? Well, if you're immigrating from Kenya, yes, there will be some culture to adjust to. I wouldn't call it a shock exactly. I mean, look, these are people just like everybody else. Yes, you will find that there are fewer Africans than you're accustomed to if you're coming from Kenya. That is a slight adjustment, really, because when you put kids together, honestly, kids don't see color, kids don't see race, kids don't see religion until we adults bring our attention to it. Okay, so I think that the greater worry that I would have for anybody relocating here with kids is more about the adults than the children. Kids adjust, they find each other, they make friends, they adjust to the schedule. In fact, they find it exciting. The weather patterns are exciting to some of them. I mean, from my experience, my kids really, really love the snow. You know, in Kenya, there's this one hotel that had an ice rink that they would love to go to. But here, seeing real snow for the first time for them was an amazing experience, that they went and rolled all over it. I mean, of course, they came back home with wet noses and all, and it's a mess when you have that. But they really quickly adjusted, I have to be honest with you. What I'm more concerned about is the adults. The adults, the issue is having a network of people who support you. And one of the main issues with adults adjusting to living abroad or living in Canada, to be specific, is that support network. If you don't know people here that you can speak with about the general issues that are going to affect you as an adult, especially if you're coming here with kids, and then you're probably in school, one spouse is in school, the other spouse is working, you're managing the kids. If you're used to having some help managing the house and the kids at home, especially for ladies, you're going to have a difficult time for sure. I can tell you that's one of the first things that struck me about living abroad. I expected to have a difficult time. I did have a really difficult time. I still am having a difficult time. I don't think I'm going to ever adjust to doing it myself. Okay, and don't get me wrong. It's not that I expect that my whole life people are going to be waiting on me, but I love to have some help. I do. I have always had help. Since I started to live on my own, I always had help. I tried to take care of myself by myself. I ended up eating bread and eggs for a long time. I developed a lot of problems, a lot of health problems because of indigestion, not eating proper food. And I quickly got help because I was working odd hours, quickly got help, regularized my eating plan. I've always had somebody living with me to help me with managing myself ever since. And then when I had kids, of course, I had more people because I had 3 kids in very close proximity. You know, at some point I had 3 kids under the age of 4. So it's quite a bit of work, and I was running my business full time. So I always had help, and I've always had help. So you're going to struggle with that, especially for the ladies who are generally expected to take care of their home front as well as work, as well as sometimes study. So that's going to be an area of struggle. With the guys, if you're coming with your family, this is not the place where you come from work, you kick off your shoes, somebody brings a cup of coffee, the other person brings your newspaper, and a child will run and get your slippers, and you sit on your favorite chair and wait for dinner. No, this is the place where you come and you take off your work clothes, whatever they are, and you get into the kitchen, or you take the vacuum cleaner, or you take the shoveling thing, you go and shovel snow, or you take, I mean, there are chores for you to do here. So if that's not your cup of tea, don't come, okay? If what you're looking for is not big enough for you to become the person you need to be here to support the rest of your family on managing your home and managing yourselves. As a man, don't come. You're going to be very frustrated. You're going to be cranky. It's not going to work. Okay? This is the place where if you're a couple, you have to work together. If you have not been doing that, if as a man you're too big to do something like that, don't come. You're going to be a nuisance around. You're going to be a grouchy person to be around, and it's not going to work. Your wife is not going to come and do the housework and go to work or go to school and cook for you and be that same wife in bed. It's just not going to happen. You are going to clash. So if you come here as a couple, let me just be clear. If you're not already in the habit of working together as a couple on the home front, you are going to have problems. Somebody said this to me before I left, and it is the case. You are going to have problems, and that's not the reason I'm divorced. No, that's not the reason. So just to answer your question, you are going to have challenges if you are grown-ups coming here from Kenya, especially if you're leading a middle-class lifestyle in Kenya, which means you generally have help around the house, probably have a driver. You're going to have a difficult time here because this place means do it yourself. Okay, if you come from the grocery store and you leave the shopping in bags in the living room, you're going to find them looking at you in the morning. If you have a cup of tea and you leave it on the table watching TV, you wake up in the morning, it's going to be finding you there. It's going to be saying good morning to you in the morning when you wake up. You know, it's not like home where when you do that, I mean, when you come from the grocery store, you call somebody, you hand over the key, and you find that the next thing you do is find the groceries in the cabinets where they're supposed to be arranged in the way that you want them. You leave something on the table and you're going to find it in the cabinet, clean, ready for you to use. That doesn't happen here. You throw your clothes in the washing basket. The next thing you do is find them in the wardrobe, washed, ironed, and hang facing the same direction. That's not going to happen here. Here, it means you do it yourself. If you love your nails and all, ladies, sorry, you're going to chop those nails so fast you won't believe it, because this means do it yourself. You put on a pair of gloves because you also don't want to damage your fingers, because the chemicals that I use here I notice are stronger than the ones that we use at home. So that collaboration between man and woman, if you're coming here as a couple, is crucial if you want to be successful. And you cannot not work together. You know why? Because it's very hard to manage on your own. As I did say that I am separated, I did say that I'm living alone. It's hard. You need to have a fairly reasonable salary to manage it on your own. And even then it's hard because there's coordination of the kids. You know, there's the school activities, and then there's sometimes extra activities. If your kids are involved in extracurricular activities, it means you're going back and forth, you're working at the same time, and then the housework and the chores are up to you and the kids. It can be a really difficult time. If you have young kids under the age of 10, if they're not attuned to housework, you are going to have a difficult time. So you want to start training those kids. If you haven't done a good job of that, you want to start training those kids to be self-sufficient. They pick up after themselves, they wash after themselves, they wash themselves, they make food for themselves. You know, they can make rice, they can make pasta, they can make ugali. I mean, my kids make ugali even from when we were in Kenya, my kids made ugali. You have to train your kids to be self-sufficient, because sometimes, I mean, right now I'm traveling. My kids are 4 hours away from me, all three of them. My eldest is 18, the other one is 16, the last one is 14. They're managing themselves. I mean, we made a whole batch of sauces and everything, but they're managing themselves right now. They're getting up, they're catching the bus, they're going to school, they're coming back. The other one is looking for summer work before he goes to university in September. So you're gonna have to train kids to be very self-sufficient, okay? If you're coming here with kids that are young, very, very young, say the kind that are still not going to school, it's very hard. It's very hard because you can't leave those kids at home on their own if you need to do something on your own. It means you're going to always be trailing along with kids in tow. Right? You have to go somewhere, you have to take the kids with you. Kids cannot be left in the house without another child that's 13 years and above. All right. It just means that everything is on you. If you're used to help with kids, this place is going to drive you crazy. I know we all love our kids, but let's be honest with one another. Ladies, let's be very honest with one another. We are not born exactly loving picking up and cleaning up after people, even if they're our children, even if they're our spouses, and however much we love them, it is still work and it's not fun. Okay, I don't know any woman who was born thinking, when I grow up, I want to take care of my family and pick up after them and clean up and cook all the time. I don't know any woman who said that when she was growing up. I don't know any. Okay, so please train those people before they come here, and you'll have an easier time. Otherwise, your family becomes a burden. All right, I'm more worried about the adults than the children. Okay. With regard to the culture shock for the adults, yes, you're going to have a difficult time with, I'm looking for the right word. Maybe let me just make a comparison. In Kenya, you go somewhere, you meet people, most of them look like you. A lot of them are going to say hello. They're speaking a language you understand. They're speaking in ways that you also speak. It's familiar. You go to the store, you find things and food and generally people to help. Here, that's not the case. Okay, a lot of the things are DIY. You know, there's nobody to pack the stuff for you in the store. You do it yourself, depending on which stores you go to. Most of the stores, really, you pack the stuff yourself. You take it to the car yourself. The people are, I would say, abrupt. Okay, they're not as friendly and as gentle as our people are back in Kenya, especially people who work in a store where you go to give them your money. Not really. Okay, so you will struggle with that. Sometimes you're going to have a difficult time finding the kind of food that you're used to. And when you find it, it's expensive. When you find work, sometimes you're going to have to tone yourself down. All right, tone yourself down in the sense that you're going to have to bring down your resume a notch if you're to find entry-level work. And please bear in mind that you may need to work entry-level jobs. I'm going to do another video of the first job I did. I came here, I worked as a hotel maid. Yes, I worked at the Marriott as a hotel maid. I only lasted 2 days, so that's a different video altogether. But you want to be ready for interesting curveballs, especially if you're coming as a student, because remember, as a student, you only have 20 hours a week. Now, 20 hours a week, nobody's going to give you a serious job. That's the honest truth. You're going to get all these retail kind of jobs where you're ringing up customers in a store, or you're cleaning up in hotels, or you're opening doors in hotels. Those kinds of jobs that back in Kenya, most of us would not do, would not do. When you come here, everybody does those jobs. It's a rite of passage. It's not a big deal, by the way. If you have a problem with it, it's in your head. Get it out of there and get moving. All right. So that's how come I did accept it. Because when you come here, usually you have a nest egg. And by nest egg, I mean you have some money set aside to pay your bills for a certain period of time. Now, you don't want to be depleting this without another source of income ready, or at least in the horizon, that's going to replace this nest egg so that you don't spend all of it. At the same time, you don't run dry if you're spending it. Okay, so even as you have that nest egg, and you must have some nest egg, okay, especially if you have kids. Now, if you have that money sitting in an account because you're thinking, I'm going to be able to pay my bills after a certain point of time, if you can find something to do that saves you from finishing all that, you know, you want to take that thing, even if it's that job that you might look down upon in Kenya. Here is not a big deal. PhD holders do those jobs. Even as they're studying for their PhDs, they do one regular job, okay, or maybe an office job, and they do those odd jobs as well to supplement their income. So that's one thing, adults who want to come to Canada, please be aware you are going to struggle with that. What you want to do is borrow my philosophy, mind over matter. Mind over matter. If you don't mind, it doesn't matter. It only matters if you mind it. Okay? But your mind is bigger than anything else. So you tell yourself the goal in mind and anything else, doing odd jobs, cold weather, snow, people being abrupt at the store, nobody carrying your groceries, nobody doing your laundry, nobody ironing your clothes. You're going to wear some wrinkled clothes from time to time, by the way. Nobody cleaning your house for you. You're going to have to get used to some crumbs on the floor every so often. If you're a nitpicky person like me, you're going to have migraines until you get to the point where you cannot take any more Tylenols. So you're going to live with it. There's some adjustments, and it's really for the adults, not the children. Now, somebody else said to me, but Seraphine, let me just read the message again. Just give me a moment there. Somebody said, and I'm not going to mention your name, don't worry about it. Just a minute here. Okay, I have 4 children. And I worry about, I'm 40 years old and I have 4 children, and I worry about starting over at this time. Anyway, I'm just rambling. What is the tuition, estimated tuition cost and everything? Now, people, I don't care how old you are. Age is just one of those things that you have to decide whether it really means something or it really doesn't. Because the older you are, maybe your eyes will not be as sharp, but your mind is sharper than it ever was when you were younger, because you are clear about the things you want. You're crystal clear about the things you want. And you also know the cost of not having them. And you also don't want the regret of not having gone for them when you had the chance. And I said this to somebody some time back. I said, oh, but you know, we are thinking that we are a little old to start moving right now. Yes, you may be. Yes, you may be a little old, because most people leave for the US and Europe when they're younger. Fantastic. However, a lot of them also don't make it, because they're too young to understand what the opportunity holds here. And they're too excited about the chance to really understand that living abroad is just another place, okay? The opportunities may be more than what we have in our country, but it's just another place. You don't go looking at all the lights and all the exciting possibilities that we don't have back home and get lost in all that. So when you're younger, you usually will get lost in all that because you still haven't grasped the real gist of what life is and what's at stake if you don't make the right decisions. So when you're older, I believe, honestly, I believe that you have a greater chance of being successful because you're looking at the finish line. I was 44 when I was moving here. The first thing I was thinking about, I wanted to retire at 50. That didn't happen. Now I came here thinking, now I may have to move that another 10 years. So I'm looking to retire at 60. What must I do between now and that time? What are the milestones that I must keep hitting every 6 months, every year for me to get to retirement at the age of 60? And that's not to say that at 60, I'm going to sit back in my sunset years and now wait for death to come as the next rite of passage. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm saying I want to get to that point at 60 where I work because I want to work, and I choose the number of hours because I can afford to. Okay, I work because I want to keep myself intellectually engaged, not because if I don't work, I will not be able to pay bills, I will not be able to eat, kids will not be able to go to school, and that kind of thing. That's what I mean by retirement. A change in schedule so that I don't have to clock in somewhere, clock out, work with clients I don't like, and that kind of thing. That's what I mean by retirement, okay? Because 60 is fairly young. Hopefully I will get there. I'm knocking on wood. So if you're thinking you're too old, let me say this. Think about your children. What opportunities do they have where you are, and what opportunities will they have here if you brought them here when they're still under 18, you plug them into the system, and they can then have the opportunities that are here that we may not have in our country for a very long time. Even though we love our country, it is home. We don't have to think about ourselves as the other people. Back home, we're just people, you know, we're just Africans. Here you are a Black person, you know, and much as you might think, okay, color doesn't matter and everything. And I know I just said earlier on that, you know, kids don't know color, they don't know race and everything. Here, every form you fill for something, you're going to have to say what race you identify as. okay? And part of that is African American or Black. So when you come here, you're not just anybody, you're not just any other African person, you're a Black person. And that has certain implications depending on what you do and where you go and who you interface with, all right? So be aware of that. However, when you look at what you have back home and what you could have here, and you compare those and you decide that what you could have here is way greater than what you have at home, and not just for you, but more importantly for the kids, then you want to move, okay? And that moving process does have some adjustment, and that adjustment does have some difficulties and will try you in many ways, but decide whether it's greater for you to benefit and have some trials along the way or not. Okay, that's a really personal decision that you have to make on your own, but age is not an obstacle. I'm telling you, people here work until they're 7 years old, 7-0. So you think you're 40 something and you think you're old, you're very young, sweetheart. Come over. If that's the only thing that's an obstacle in your mind, get it off your mind and start the process and get here, okay? The sooner you get the kids plugged into the system, the sooner they will start to reap the benefits, and you will start to have a break from all the obligations that we have to do back home that you don't have to do here. Again, I am not promoting relocation. I am saying if it would benefit you and your children to move here, make the move. If you're comfortable at home, if you're okay at home, if your future is secure at home, stay home, because East or West, home is best. All right, I'm going to put some more resources in the description. I'm going to put information about applying to come to Canada as a student, about what is expected of you as a student, especially the work opportunities here. I'm going to put information about which sites to go to. Have a look at those. If you have any questions, let me know. That's all I have for now. Next video, I'm going to go step by step. You want to come in as a student. What are the things you must do one by one? And I'm talking about coming in as a student because that's what I did. That's what I know best. Again, I am not an immigration consultant. Okay, I'm going to put this out there over and over again. I'm sharing with you my experience because you have asked, but I'm not an immigration consultant. Okay, so that's it for now, and I'll see you another time. Okay, bye for now.